to all of you who are either watching or listening to the rebranded, new and improved because of my trusty videographer, Corbin Bravo, under contract. As you all know, I'm super, super intentional about who I interview and why. And I've had some pretty amazing guests. I would say all of them have been amazing in their own right and in their own ways. But today I am honored and humbled to be able to bring on someone that has made a massive impact in the community and if not our country. And her message is resonating and needs to be heard over and over and over again. I'm interviewing today, as most of you probably already know, and if you don't know, Google it. Google that GTS, right? Google it. Go to Kaiser nurse, COVID, refusing to get the jab, whatever you want to use to Google it. We're interviewing the one and only Tori Johnson. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So excited. Like, this has been I think we've been talking for 3 weeks since I reached out to you.
Yeah.
And we spoke, we've been texting. And I'm always excited to learn a little bit more about my guests, but to actually sit down and speak with them and interview them about them. And your them is not just like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 points. There's a lot to you in terms of your journey. So let's just kind of break it down right now, and let's talk about the white elephant in the room. You were a Kaiser nurse working during COVID. And they escorted you out, and I'm recalling it in my mind. They escorted, meaning they security at Kaiser.
Yes.
Escorted you out because you wouldn't get the jab.
That's correct.
Break it down for me.
Okay. So rewind to October 2021. COVID had been happening for a while. The vaccine became available to healthcare providers at the end of 2020. And I had been working on a COVID unit at that point for, since March, never gotten COVID, young and healthy, just wasn't eager to jump on getting this vaccine that was experimental, that I just had reservations about. I prayed about it. It didn't feel right for me. But anyway, so I just kept working, kept showing up. And then in August of 2021, California mandated that we get the vaccine or have an approved exemption of some kind, either medical or religious, in order to keep working. So as a Christian, I completed my my religious exemption, and thought that would be it. And I tested twice a week. Again, I've never tested positive for COVID to this day. I was in those rooms all the time, no problem, showing up, doing my job. And so I just really thought that would be it. I would just be testing forever until the mandates changed or something happened. And then early October, I got an email asking more questions, further asking me to explain my religious exemption, which to me seemed like a big infringement on my First Amendment rights to religious freedom.
What I'm thinking, yes.
Because I felt discriminated against for having to explain myself in the first place. It's kind of like having to write a book report about why your beliefs in God. Okay, well, who's judging this? Who's judging this?
Right.
All right, some person in HR, we don't really know, right? So I answer the questions, and again, I'm like, oh, this is strange because I thought we were good. I thought I had an approved exemption. And then 2 weeks later, I'm at work on a COVID unit, like halfway through my shift, the morning of my shift, and my boss came to me and she's like, have you read your email? And if you're a nurse, do you have any nurses listening? No, we don't read our email during our shift. I'm like,
but you're not scrolling, just checking things out while you're working.
No. I was like, but I had this sinking feeling. So I pull up my email and there it is. It's your request for religious exemption accommodation for the COVID-19.
Hold this thought real quick. Explain to us what went into the whole religious exemption, because you shouldn't have had to go through that part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, First Amendment all day. So explain to us the significance of that and what did that involve?
So the religious exemption just asked a couple questions, and it just asked me to explain my reasons as a Christian that I didn't want to get the vaccine.
Okay.
And so I was very happy to do that, and talking about, discernment that God gives me and Bible verses and things, and just just being very honest and about my reasons. And I didn't think that would be challenged because we live in America.
That's okay.
Right there.
Right.
I just didn't.
That's period.
Period.
Right. So you opened up your email.
Open up my email, and I'm in shock that I cannot believe I'm asked to be put off on administrative leave for my religious beliefs in America. And so after I flipped out a minute in my head, I was like, okay, I'm not leaving until I get some answers, because people need to know what's happening. Our First Amendment rights to religious freedom are being taken away every day, little by little. And if we don't speak up, then before we know it, we aren't going to have any rights left. And we're going to be the ones to blame because we didn't speak up.
So, okay. So you're there, you're working, the email is, you're aware of the email, you're aware of what's coming down. How long after reading that and being aware of what's happening did it start to somewhat unravel in terms of, were you in the middle of your shift? Were you at the beginning? Were you at the end of your shift? Because I mean, what I'm envisioning in my eyes is the video that keeps playing over and over of them actually escorting you out, and you're filming this. So and let's not forget the fact that you're helping people in need at this point. This was a very dire time on a COVID unit, let alone in our country, right? And given that there weren't any true scientific backing information or what have you to say, hey, this jab is okay, we were guinea pigs, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got people that are dying on your unit, people that are coming in probably quicker than they're leaving, and you're here trying to do your job, and they're telling you, guess what? We are questioning your religious exemption. You may or may not be working here anymore. I mean, I'm sure these thoughts are going through your mind.
Yeah.
So where were you during your shift? What were you actively involved with helping a patient? What was going on? Did they literally, because all I can see, honestly, Tori, is you being yanked from what you were doing in front of everyone, which in and of itself is an issue.
So that day I was in a leadership role. I was the break nurse. So, I mean, not leadership role, but like a resource. So I'm a leader on the floor. I'm helping all the other nurses. So I was a well-respected nurse. I've never had any issues, never been written up for anything, right? So it came as a shock to me, and I'm very outspoken about my faith. It came as a shock to me that my religious exemption wasn't accepted, because this is kind of the thing that people don't understand. A lot of exemptions were accepted, just not mine. So, yeah.
Okay.
So who was playing God at Kaiser or at a company that they hired? We don't know.
Okay.
But I'm there that day, and I said, well, I'm not leaving without some answers, because this is my job. This is America. This is illegal. And I'm going to just shed light on this as best I can. So that was 10 o'clock in the morning when I was notified. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't escorted out until around 6 something in the evening, because they were like, you got to go. You've been here all day making a ruckus. You got to go. Because first of all, again, if you're a nurse,
where are we?
If you're a nurse, like, you're going to laugh because we have staffing ratios. So they were like, hey, we know this is kind of upsetting that you're losing your job, but do you mind finishing your shift?
Like, completely ignoring everything that you're representing and standing for and speaking up about. Yeah. They overlook it almost in a condescending way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's dismissive.
Oh, yeah. And I said, I just don't think you understand who you're talking to. Like, I know my rights, and this is illegal, and no, I'm not going to finish my shift. Actually, I'll be happy to, and this is what I told them, if you make this letter go away and you reinstate me, if you approve my religious exemption, I'm happy to finish my shift. That's what I came here today to do. And they're like, Houston, we have a problem on the 6th floor. We got this nurse who knows her rights. We're not sure what to do. So I'm like, can I go to HR? I've never been there because I'm a
Why
great
would
employee.
you?
I'm a great employee. I never had to go to HR before. And they said, we don't have an HR here on site. Oh, fantastic.
Of course, because it's Kaiser and it's a conglomerate, and you're just another one of the minions.
Just a number.
Right.
So I said, I'm not leaving, because if I do, I will never get an answer. I'll just become a number. So who can I talk to? Oh, we can call HR. So I call HR. Oh, you got to call a different HR. Oh, I'm going to call them too. Great. All the while, I'm just saying, you guys, this was my message to my coworkers that day. It was like, listen, you might be fine with this mandate, but what about the next one? Mm-hmm. And the next one, and the next one? Mm-hmm. And you're going to say, gosh, I really wish I had stood up for my rights while we still had them. Yes. And so that was I just said, you know what? I'm going to go down swinging. I'm going down swinging. What do I have to lose?
Good for you.
they're already letting me go.
Right.
I'm not compromising.
Right.
I'm under contract with God on this one.
And you remember whose you are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my religious freedom is so important to me and for my kids that it takes us advocating for that if we want to keep them. This isn't another country.
Right.
We have a constitution. Right. Other countries don't. We're so lucky. But people, we don't know our rights, and myself included. Like I've been educated in this area so much since this happened. But we think this is normal.
Well, and that's the problem, right? I feel like the norm, what's become the norm is to not speak up, right?
Yes.
And if you are one who's vocal and you know you have a voice and you use your voice, we are scrutinized for it. We're the black sheep for it. You're a troublemaker because of it.
Absolutely.
And, just sit in your corner, don't ruffle any feathers, and just do what you're told.
Absolutely.
Right? A, as a woman, B, as a God-fearing woman whose faith is very, very strong, and you're very vocal about it, and you're helping people in a very dire time in our country, in the world, and this is what they're doing, right? So they're basically saying to you, you know what, Tori, we know what we sent to you, and we know what we told you, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So please be quiet.
Yeah.
And stop causing a ruckus down here in a very condescending, demeaning, dismissive, and a misogynist, if you're going to go there, way that should never ever happen in today's time, let alone ever, right?
Absolutely.
So you're dismissed essentially. What's going through your mind as they're escorting you out? Like I've seen the reel on your social media, and I can't believe this is happening to me type thing. What was going through your mind as that was happening, and as soon as it was done? Like when you were on the other side of those doors, what did you do?
I took that opportunity to document history, really. I mean, that's what I felt like I was doing. I'm not to say like what I did was so monumental, but it's like I'm literally documenting this for me, for my kids, and so that people know what's happening. There's still today people, my dad just was talking to somebody the other day and it came up and they didn't really fire people. He was like, what? It's happening. I met somebody else who their dad yesterday, their dad was fired up in state of Washington for the same thing. And it's like, it's just quiet. There's so many of us that are out there still that have forged another path. But it happened, and it's going to keep happening, not the same way probably, but our rights are going to continue to be infringed upon if we don't know them and we don't advocate for them. So I'm walking out and people are like, how are you not upset? And I said, well, I'd been there 8 hours.
Would be so livid. I would be, you're a better woman than I, because I would be, yeah.
Well, at this point, really, it was like I had said my piece, and the nursing administration had come and chastised me and said, well, we have to let you go because we're protecting the patients. Well, how does my paper that I wrote, how is it any different than protecting some other patients from another unvaccinated nurse who you like their answers better? Like, it doesn't make sense. So make this make sense to me. Not to mention, if we're in a pandemic, why are you firing people who are trained and willing to work? Like, let's, again, make this make sense for me.
Who, mind you, across the country, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm recalling back in my mind, they didn't have enough people helping. They didn't have enough nurses. I mean, there weren't enough. Nurses were coming out of retirement, from what I remember, to help with this. So none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
and we had a nursing shortage before that. And now a lot of nurses who are willing to advocate for people's rights are done with healthcare. So think about a workforce of people that are like, I'm not doing this anymore. They're telling me to do things I don't agree with, and I can't advocate for my patients in the way that I want to, so I'm out of here. So you're losing educated medical staff that are done with this, putting up with the system, with the hypocrisy of it. That's scary to me, because I'm the nurse you want. I'm like, excuse me, doctor, this doesn't make sense. Can you please explain this to me? Excuse me, they don't want that. Can you please go back and explain? I'm the nurse you want, because I'm like the little squeaky wheel over here. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know, it's
Keeping
just,
everybody accountable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doing my job.
Yes.
Right. The best I know how.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but when I was escorted out, the security guard had just gotten on shift. So he was like, what are we doing? You know, he's like, all right, yeah, let's go.
All right. I guess I could.
So I wanted to I was thinking about before I came on here, I'm like, what are the contracts I made with myself in my life? And I've made literally anything I've ever done that was worth doing is somewhat of a contract. That's what I landed on.
Always.
Yeah.
These are, and I call it the committee in our brain, right? At least for me it is. And they're constantly negotiating from the minute that I wake up, all of the commitments that I made myself to get done that day, whether it's making my bed and failing to do it. If I don't make my bed, that's the first thing that I didn't accomplish, right? So they're all in my head, and the contracts that we make with ourselves, we dictate whether it's successful or not, right? So take it to another level when you're making contracts with yourself about your health, about your business, about your finance, your personal life, whatever it is, they're important, right? No one can tell us otherwise. So with you in this situation, you know, this poor security guy's like, okay, I guess I'm going to take her out, right? And you made the contract with yourself. You made a contract with God. You stand by your word. You stand by who you are, and you're not going to go down quietly. So that contract, you kind of ran through it in your head. What were you thinking? I mean, I would be so livid. I would be beyond myself, making phone calls to attorneys right away and saying, oh my gosh, this just happened. What do I do? Right?
Yeah. It was such a blur. I just was like, I'm going to document as much as possible, and I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm not going quietly. I'm going to go down swinging as much as possible. The contract I made with myself, though, that literally came full circle in that moment when I'm being walked out was something that I had been doing since June of 2020 at work. So I had a really bad shift at work, and I can't even remember the details of it. It was just one of those where I had to come back the next day, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to come back to this. Was exhausted. So I went to get on the elevator to go up to the 7th floor. I always park on the 7th floor because that's where you're supposed to park. So if you watch my video, all these details make
Rule
sense.
follower. I love it.
And so I don't forget where I parked. Okay, it's like multiple, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I'm like, I'm not taking the stairs today, God. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, you know, I'm stomping out, tired, hungry, like just ready to go home. And God's like, no, you need to take the stairs. And I was like, no. You know, you hear it once and you're like,
okay.
And then I'm like standing there ready to jump on the elevator. And the elevator line was always long. So it was like 1 or 2 of us could get in at a time during COVID, right? So I'm like, no, I'm not doing
that darn 6 feet distance that we now know is not even a thing.
Just made up. Thanks,
Come on, Fauci.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all over the news.
It's a whole different conversation, but yeah. So you didn't get on the elevator.
So I'm like, oh, fine. You know, I stomp up the stairs. I wish I could say I had a great attitude about it, but I didn't. And I was just like, okay, because I am in tune with the Holy Spirit, I'm like, I know the voice, it's different.
Yes.
It's different.
And you know what's so cool about that, Tori? Is he's never mad.
Never.
He's never mad.
That's how you know.
Okay. He's never, oh my God, I just got the chills. He's never, thank you, God. He's never mad when we sin. He's never mad when we've made a decision that he didn't tell us to make. He lets us do our thing, and he still accepts us, and he still forgives us, and he welcomes us back gently.
Gently.
But the thing about that is, for me, I'm more concerned about breaking his heart than I am not listening to him. So they're both connected. So if I don't listen to him, it breaks his heart. But the Holy Spirit, for sure, gentle.
Yeah, and it's the calm, quiet voice
in a chaotic situation.
And I'm like, oh, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Because you know his enemy would be like, girl, you go in there, get it, get your fighting gloves on and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, rewind to June 2020, I'm like, I'm not taking the stairs. God's like, no, you need just trust me on it. Like, walk the stairs. Like, you need to blow off some steam. That's what I was thinking. I was like, whatever.
Get your steps in.
But I get to the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And God said, I need you to walk the stairs every single day after your shift to remember that this place cannot break you.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because I felt like it was going to break me.
Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Your whole world, everything about what you believe in as a person, as a Christian, as a woman, as a nurse, as a mother, is being questioned. Like, this is everything you're teaching your kids, to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Know your rights. You have a voice. So everything that you know to be is being questioned in that moment. Look at God making you take the stairs.
I know. So I said, okay, but it was such a tender promise to me that, like, in the chaos of June 2020, when there was like the BLM riots and we were still so unsure about COVID, it was such like a steady, which he always is. It's like a steady promise. I will be here. This place can't break you. COVID can't break you. The situation cannot break you. So you just need to keep being obedient in the small things. Keep showing up, keeping your eyes on me, and I will be there. This place can't break you. So every single day after that, I took the stairs to finish my shift, even if I didn't want to.
How many days did you do this after that happened?
Months, right? So that was June 2020. I got fired October 21. Every single time I worked.
June, July, August. Whoa,
yeah,
girl, 4 or 5
year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it was like, it was such a blessing, because God was like, listen, I made a promise to you. No matter what you just experienced there, this is not going to break you. And I was like, that's right. That's right. And I can come back tomorrow because I know that you are going to provide.
It's a good example of, it doesn't, he can take what the enemy meant to harm us and make it turn around for our good.
Absolutely.
And he does that very well. And this was a perfect example of, look at God.
Yeah.
In his timing, right?
Yes.
Because I honestly feel, now that I'm hearing this, and we all go through this, when something like that happens, yes, we don't like it. Yes, we don't understand it. Yes, we're like, why, God? Holy Spirit, why are you telling me to do this? Why are you asking me to continue in a gentle, small, still voice when all I want to do, my flesh wants to say, I need to get in there and fight. Put down your sword. This isn't your battle. This is my battle to fight. But at the same time, it goes to show he was working something out in your heart.
Yeah.
Right? He was working something out in Kaiser's heart, albeit not cool what they did. Because now we know what, on the other side of it, what justice is his, right?
Absolutely.
So in the moment, now that I'm hearing you share this, what do you feel he was working out in you during this time? Because you had to go back to work every day, and then you were ultimately terminated.
Yeah.
So what do you feel in hindsight? Because now you're thriving in the business that you have. All those months that you had to do, you were taking the stairs. What do you feel God was working on in you that he may still be working on now? Or has he completed working on? That you can say, you know what, Tammy, this is what it was. Because I know for me, I've been in situations where, because as a nurse, especially on a COVID unit, there's so much power in that role, right? And I can speak as a real estate agent. There's so much power in my role. But whose power is it?
Yes.
Right? It's not ours. We're not judge, jury. We're not that. God is all for God. We have very little to do with it. But I know for me, there have been times where I didn't realize I was being prideful. And God will reckon with that in a position. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like some of that initially was your pride and your ego going, oh, whoa, back up, right? Mm-hmm. And do you feel like he's worked on that? Or what was he working on?
I really think for me it was discipline and obedience to his word, even when it doesn't make sense necessarily. Mm-hmm. That is, for me, because I think pride is probably the sin I struggle with the most, because I'm confident in a lot of things I do. It's like, and that's great. God's giving me a lot of gifts, but I also need to remember where those gifts have come from and to use them for his glory, not my own. And I can get real chatty and real lippy, and it's like, no, okay, my life is not my own. The words that I say matter, and so just taking that responsibility. But I also think he was just, by that small discipline of taking the stairs was like the rainbow promise to me. He's like, I'm here, man. He's like, but nothing's going to break you. You're drawing a line in the sand. You're building the stones. Remember in the Old Testament where everything that big happened, they would build the stones.
They started small, yes.
Because they would forget.
And they were stepping stones if you really want to go there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're so quick to forget what he's done in our life.
Yes. Oh, gosh, yes.
So that like small act of taking the stairs every single day after my shift was my way of saying, okay, God's got this. This is not going to break me. He's in control. I can continue to show up here and do a hard job with, not enough resources, a lot of emotions, a lot of fear, right? I can continue to show up with peace and with joy and with love and do my job well to encourage others.
And be the light.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because if you think about it, right, we are his representatives, right? And he sent us here to serve and to be the light. And what an amazing opportunity you were given and continue to have to be the light in a very dark time, in a very dark situation, which for all intent and purposes, it isn't done yet. It's far from done.
Yeah.
It's just beginning.
Absolutely.
Right? So in a dark time, you had enough insight and you walking alongside the Holy Spirit to know that this is, I don't like it. It's never fun to go through something like this, but I trust you. And I'm going to be the light in a very dark situation when you could have easily did the opposite and said, why did this happen to me? Why is this happening to me, God? You see how they're treating me, the victim, right? When you didn't. So you're choosing to be the light. What transpires?
Well, it comes full circle. That day I was getting escorted out, I was like, we're walking the stairs, taking the stairs, because that's what I do every single day after my shift. Like, this is no different. And it was
so here's a side question. So how developed did your legs get because of this?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you develop like quads of steel?
All those. I mean, it was just I think sometimes you walk over 5 miles at work as a nurse, just being a nurse, like just walking there, working.
All the steps. Yeah. I love it.
But it is. It's like, you know, and what I do now, encouraging people to take care of their physical body. Because that day when I left there, I was catapulted into this like chaos of like, what's going to happen? And then I ultimately started a business where I am helping women lose weight and balance their hormones, using my background as a nurse and a dietitian. I was a dietitian before I became a nurse. So I really just feel that God just said, I'm closing that door. I have other things for you to do, because there's not a whole lot you can do to help people when they're in the hospital.
Right.
That's an acute situation.
Right.
But to really give people freedom from the burdens of a body that's not working well by teaching them how to
use it.
How to use it.
And food is medicine.
Absolutely.
So you were terminated.
Yes.
Escorted out.
Yes.
You took the stairs every day. You were obedient. You were the light. At what point after all of that was done, because I'm sure you still process this whole experience, and I'm sure, and you don't really have to disclose, but I'm sure it's to be continued.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what did you decide to do, or how did you, once the door was finally closed on that for now, right? The chapter then is that chapter is done, but it's just beginning for all we know. So when you were escorted out, who was the first person you called?
Well, my husband, who has been an absolute rock through this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's a fireman, so he's a first responder. Okay. He dealt with a similar situation with COVID up in Orange County, but they were never asked to test or write an exemption. So it was interesting to see how different organizations handled the mandates. So we were very blessed in that way, but just ultimate support from him.
Yeah.
And then a whirlwind after that of, it was a crazy time of like a media blitz, my video going viral, interviews, and then like the aftermath of like where then nobody cares about you because the media cycle's done. And that was just a really hard time. Like, no, I still want to keep fighting this fight.
Yes.
So that to me was just something I said, you know what, religious freedom, I'm so passionate about it.
Yes.
It's so important. In tyrannical governments, religious freedom is one of the first things that they attack, because people of faith are willing to stand up to the government because we fear God more than we fear man.
Yeah.
And so they attack religious freedom. And I said, well, this is a passion of mine. Like, no matter what I do, now working for myself, I can say whatever I want without fear of losing my job. And it is so incredible. And encourage people to do the same, right? Like, I stood up for my freedoms. I lost my job, and that's what a lot of people are afraid of. But ultimately, God is using me in a different way. And the shackles are off me. Like there's no restrictions, and I am free to go about and talk about God and, use my gifts the way that what he's gifted me with for his purposes.
You said something that resonates with me because we shouldn't have to censor our faith.
Absolutely.
In the workplace, number one, because we're in America. Number two, we shouldn't have to wonder in a workplace setting, or I know I'm going to use my business in real estate. I'm very vocal about my faith with this platform, with any potential client that I work with my colleagues. And there was a time where I would question, oh my gosh, should I say this? We should never feel that way. Well, I fear, what if they won't accept me? What if they won't work with me? No. And that was an identity issue, right? For me. So hearing you say this, it brings me back to a time where I finally said, I don't care. I work for myself. And that freedom is because God blessed you with that ability to say, hey, here is what I am. Let's see how well you steward what I'm giving you, right? Are you just going to mail in your response? Or are you going to actually show up and deliver the response, right? I don't do mail-ins, and I don't think you do either. You show up. And you don't just show up to get by. You show up because everything we say, everything we do is for his glory, right? So listening to you say now the freedom that you experience because you started your own business, there's so much beauty in that. There's so much beauty in envisioning you doing what you're doing now that we fast forward and we're here. But we both know, and I don't know if you can talk about this or not, has Kaiser reached out to you since?
I just received a letter, as most people did in my lawsuit, or who were let go for the same reason, a couple of weeks ago, letting us know that the mandate was no longer in place and that we could reapply.
Oh, reapply.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, yep. Thank you.
Wow, reapply. So in other words, you don't have my work history on file, and I have to go through this process as if I'm freshly out of nursing school.
Yes.
So I have to earn my keep again.
Yes.
I didn't realize that that's how we were, Kaiser. Kaiser. So, okay, so you're welcome to reapply. So you mentioned there are a few of you in this lawsuit. Okay, thank God for that. Where are you with this?
There's over 400 of us.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
Yeah, and that's just the people who are in the lawsuit. I mean, there were, I think, thousands that were let go in California alone for this. And it's a slow process. And we've been assigned a judge, and that's pretty much it. There's been nothing. I think it's going to be years. So I had to make a decision that I was going to let the judicial process do its thing and let God handle this. Otherwise, it would eat me alive because it isn't fair and it is illegal. But I'm not going to let that paralyze me and keep me stuck. And unfortunately, there are quite a few of us who have who are stuck. We're stuck because emotionally been paralyzed by the injustice of it all. And so there's a bunch of us, and we, can support each other through that. But I'm very vocal on social media because I want people to know that standing up for your religious freedom and standing up for your faith, it is so important, and you will never regret it. Ultimately. Right. You will ultimately never regret it. I sleep great at night. I can look my kids in the eye and say, I did everything I could to preserve your rights in this country.
That's right.
I did everything I could. And so that feels really good.
Yeah.
When you were talking about we shouldn't be afraid to speak about our faith in the workplace, that is fear cripples us. And that's the tool that the enemy uses to keep us from many things, to keep us from using our voice, to keep us from spreading God's goodness and love and freedom to those who need to hear it.
Right.
So one of my favorite verses is, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-discipline.
Yes.
And that self-discipline part, that's about taking the stairs.
Yes.
It's about, it's like the
and
little
obeying
things.
him in the little things.
Yes.
Because in the blessing was in and continues to be in the obedience.
Yes.
Right? Because it didn't make sense at the time, right?
No.
But the fact that he used a very this is all working together for his good, and it is truly to be continued. So you mentioned something about the media cycle, and now that you've got this lawsuit, and this is God's battle, not yours.
Yes.
So having peace about that and knowing that, God, I don't understand all of this, but I trust you. And not only that, the media circus is about to start again.
Oh my gosh.
You know that, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm kind of looking from back, knowing that once the judge has been assigned and this starts going through the legal process, the judicial process, it will start all over again. And I can almost say book deals, speaking engagements, he's going to use this as this is your platform. The business that you have right now, and I don't know where this is coming from, but this is coming from can only be God, but the business that you have right now is sustaining you, and it's truly helping people. But what's really on the other side of this is a bigger platform that you're ever imagining. Ever. Like, ever. I'm going to prophesy that.
Thank you. That's a good word. Thank you for that.
So having said that, all of that debacle is behind you for what it's worth. And you just started a new business. So how did this all come to fruition? Because this to me is right up my lane, because I love everything that you espouse regarding you're taking, your experience. God opened the door. You now have this thriving business. You're helping women. What better to do than really hone in and on specifically with women, their hormones, and optimizing aging? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
Yes. So when I worked at a clinic right after being fired, we thought about moving to Idaho because I could work up there, just all the things. But we decided to stay here. We didn't feel like God was calling us away from our home, but I did feel called to homeschool my kids. So I homeschool my kids, started a business. It allows me to have a lot more flexibility. And I asked God, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to use my skills? And I came up, he's like, well, you have, and this is maybe not my purpose in life, but my skills that I have that he's been giving
right now.
me,
Yeah.
how can I use those? So as a registered dietitian, nutrition is my strong suit, right? And then as a nurse, the whole wellness piece of it, I was an athlete growing up. So really helping people with weight loss. But I started out as weight loss, but then I'm like, all of the things that I'm doing are really helping women balance their hormones. And that's why they're losing weight. They're improving their overall health. They're decreasing inflammation. So it's all of it, right?
Yeah.
But people come to me and they're like, just want me to tell them what to eat and what exercises to do. And that's not transformational. So I include the mindset piece of it from a biblical perspective because it actually has the power to change you the most.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to think about this because it is such your body is the place where there's spiritual warfare.
Oh yeah.
It's a battleground.
I call it pretty privilege because we're all there at one point.
Yes.
Every woman is there at one point where we feel great, we look beautiful, we have all the things, whether they did injections or not, or fake out, whatever, we did all the things.
Yeah.
Pretty privilege. And then we get to a certain age and you can't keep up. As a 50-year-old woman, you're never going to be 20 or 30 again.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're chasing that, to me, that's just the enemy, which all day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And chasing something, it's like, it's not going to make you happy. Mm-hmm. So I've had clients who, I tell them about this up front. I'm like, listen, I know you think you want to lose 50 pounds and I'm really glad for your health reasons that you're on this journey with me.
Right.
But if you don't make peace with your body now, when you lose 50 pounds, you're not going to be happy.
No.
So let's figure out what's really going on and let's build this life that you love to live. And let's incorporate the nutrition and the movement and the mindset shifts that are actually going to bring healing to your overall life so that you can keep the weight off forever. And so this can enhance your life instead of just being a diet. So you were created in the image of God and you were created for a purpose. And your body is the tool that you use to fulfill your purpose in this life. Right. And that temple thing, I was just thinking about this because as a kid, I was raised in the church. My mom would be like, don't smoke cigarettes. Your body's a temple, make sure not staying out late. Go to bed. Your body's a temple. And it's almost like it has totally been watered down. It's lost its emphasis. And so talking to my clients about, listen, your body is literally the most precious gift you have.
It is.
And they're like, no, it's my kids. I'm like, no, your kids are God's. They don't belong to you.
Yeah.
Your body, they're like, oh, is it your car? No. Is it your job? No. If your body is, you are charged with taking care of it. And I know there's going to be people listening who are like, that makes you feel guilty because you're not taking care of it.
Well, hi, it's the truth.
But no one taught you how.
Yeah.
And our culture separates the two. So we weren't supposed to have our mind over here and our spirit over here and our body over here. They're supposed to be together.
Right.
And I think that's what I try to do. I bring that together for people.
For them, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that always resonates with me, my dad, you know, when I grew up, my dad was a military man, and he would pick me up from school, and I would sit in the corner of the gym while he worked out for 2 or 3 hours until my mom picked me up. So I watched him, and that's where I got my work ethic, right? My workout ethic, my discipline, my determination. I'm sitting over there as a child doing my homework. My dad's over here lifting weights. He's doing what he's doing until my mom picks me up. But I would also ask him as I got older, so Dad, why do you do this? He goes, and he's from Kentucky, so I'm going to say it just like my dad would say it. He's like, Tammy, don't you know the good Lord just gave you that body to rent? You don't own it. You're leasing it, so you better treat it right and act like you own it, right? So he would say that to me, and I would go, Dad. So now I look back and I go, it's so true. We are merely renting this body. We don't own it.
Yeah.
Take care of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Steward. How well are you going to steward what I gave you?
Right. And when your body breaks down on you, it affects your mind.
10,000%.
Right. And so we cannot have them separate. When your mind breaks down on you, it affects your body.
Yep.
So, you know, to like when you go to church and people, because they know what I do for a living, they're like, God forgives this donut as they're eating the donut. And I'm like, what do they even say? But, you know, I don't think they're really taking into consideration, not that donuts are bad, but it's like, that's not the point.
No.
You're missing the point.
Yeah.
You know, that we don't have the understanding of, or the knowledge of how to take care of our body well.
Right.
Because no one taught us.
Yeah.
And culturally, I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
So that we are sick. And
it goes back to big pharma.
Yeah.
Here's a pill for it.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
I remember seeing somewhere on social media that, you know, drink 6 to 8 ounces of water per day. Who decided that?
Yeah.
Right. I drink when I'm dehydrated. I drink when I'm thirsty. And if I'm thirsty all day, I'm going to drink, whether that's 64 ounces or not. I'm going to drink as much water as I want. But who dictates these things, right? Because we were taught back then, you know, in physical therapy or a physical fitness class, this is what you are supposed to do. But it is truly a combination of all of the things, especially as a woman, because as we age, our collagen goes down, our estrogen goes, I mean, everything needs, and trust me, I just went through the whole hormone replacement where I had no idea what was going on. My cortisol levels were shot. I felt like I couldn't sleep. I was craving sweets, all these crazy things. And at the end of the day, everything was out of balance. So when you as a woman, and even men, because men go through something similar, but when we're transitioning from our 30s, 40s into our 50s, I mean, it varies for every woman. It's so important to connect with someone like yourself, figure out what the root cause is, address the root cause. Don't put a Band-Aid on it, because that's what we're conditioned to do. Take a pill for it. Oh, here's a shot for that, right?
Yeah.
You can be our guinea pig and continue to be.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we're not, we want the easy button. And that's what the pill is. And, you know, a pill for whatever. We are, and when we're told by the doctors, are like, no, this will fix your problem. You know, by the way, and they'll just tag this on at the end, you know, lose some weight, make sure you're eating right.
Yeah.
It's like, but people then just like get the pill and then see us in 6 months.
Ozempic, let's go.
Yeah.
Now it's a shot, though.
Ozempic.
But now they're putting nicer names with it, because I do peptides, but not the what are they?
Semaglutide.
I don't do the semaglutide. I do peptides for like BPC 157 or KPV or, you know, integrated peptides, those things, not for the whatever the Ozempic is. But it's because society dictates that, hey, you know, as a woman, anti-aging, I don't like that word. How about we optimize our aging?
Yes. Optimize your health, really.
Optimize your health, right?
What happens when you optimize your health through blood sugar control, gut health, stress management, sleep, moving your body consistently, then all of a sudden your problems start to resolve themselves.
Right.
You're like, oh, yeah, wait, there's something I can do. Yes, but it's hard to do it consistently,
right?
Without And it's also, I think the hardest part about doing consistently is because like you're throwing darts at the board. You're not really sure what you're doing. So what I help people do is come up with a plan that's going to work for their life. And specifically, you know, we're going to use your strengths. Actually, we're going to leverage those strengths, and then we're going to just adjust these few things over here.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
And it takes consistency. And then on those hard days where you don't see any changes or you don't feel good, you're like, why am I doing this? This isn't working.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, no, keep going.
It's the mindset.
It's working. Yeah. You just have to keep going. It's a long road.
Yeah.
And the road never ends. So when you get healthy or you lose the weight or whatever, you have to keep going. If you don't, your body breaks down. Think about a car that you leave on the side of the road, or like, you know, maybe you have too many cars. You park a car in your driveway. You don't drive it for months and months. You get in there to turn it on. It doesn't work. So if you ignore your physical body and don't move your body, because your body was created for movement.
Yep.
If you ignore it for too long, it's not going to work well for you. And then, it's hard to come back for that. So let's do the small things.
Right.
Let's not overhaul your life, but like moving your body consistently. What I see are the biggest issues for women in their even in their teens. I mean, hormone imbalance is blood sugar control, not understanding that. And that's just a fancy way of saying how to fuel your body, and stress. And like when I can dial in those for my clients, blood sugar control is easier actually than stress, because you have to take a hard look at your life and say, there's some things I need to change, and there's some behaviors I need to change, some things I need to give up. I'm running too fast of a clip. You know, someone who owns your own business.
Well, because and let's just go back to, let's just peel away at that. I mean, a lot of women, especially men, do this as well, I'm sure. They're so busy going to and from that they don't stop for a moment to check in with themselves. Because in the busyness, they feel like that's where they're achieving, when truly they're depleting, right? And we get so used to feeling crappy that when we do feel good, it feels foreign to us, right? Oh, wait, I don't have to feel crappy all the time. Oh, wait, I can actually feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, I can get a full night's sleep. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, wait, so I'm not craving sweets today? Oh, because we're so conditioned to, it's okay, don't worry about it.
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Hustle.
Ignore it. Come on, you're stronger than that.
Grab a cup of coffee.
Grab a cup of hot. Go take do a Red Bull, drink it. We'll go out and get a drink tonight. You'll forget all about it.
Yeah.
Right? So we're conditioned to do the opposite.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're taking everything that you were trained to do, and you've got this thriving business now.
It's so much fun. It is such a blessing.
And you're making a big difference in people's lives, more than you were doing it during COVID, but out of that was the birth of this.
Yes.
And there's something else on the horizon regarding that. I know I'm going to keep in touch with you. I'm going to watch it happen before my eyes. I'm going to have you back on when the media circus is full throttle.
Sounds good.
But now you're in this place. You resonate peace. You resonate, your faith is even stronger. You sound like and you look like you're really in this place of, okay, now I can finally breathe.
Yes.
Right? And you're making a big difference in the world. So what are the 3 takeaways from that experience to where you are now that you can say without a doubt, you're so glad happened because of who you are today?
God is faithful. That is to his promises, especially when we are obedient to him. So that's a contract I make with myself. Like I'm going to do what God tells me to do, even if it doesn't make sense or I don't want to, because God is faithful. And that's my responsibility. And it's a privilege. And that's how he fulfills his purpose in this world, is through us. Right. And so God is faithful. That fear is Satan's greatest tool against us. And I don't think he's lurking behind every corner. That's not what I mean, but that he doesn't have to, because he instills fear in us. Yeah. Another contract that I made with myself a couple of years ago was, I'm just not going to worry anymore.
No.
Because like it literally, not only does it not help me, it actually hurts.
Gosh, that creates such depletion in my body when I do. Yeah. And I can feel it happening.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But I literally you just have to be aware of your thoughts though. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that anymore. Literally. And people laugh. They go, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, whatever you practice, you get really good at. Yeah. And so if I've been practicing worrying, I'm going to need to do something different.
Yeah.
And worrying keeps me stuck, keeps me from moving forward, keeps me from hearing God's word in my life. So I'm like, okay, so that's the fear. And those two, you might not think those are the same, but for me, fear then produces the worry, right? So all these things, what could happen if I stand up for my faith? Yeah. So the fear, fear is Satan's greatest tool. So if you recognize fear in your life, like really bringing that to the Lord, like that will transform your life in incredible ways. You realize, if God's got this, like, what do I have to fear?
Who can be against me?
Yeah.
Okay. But that is not even a daily reminder, Tori. That's like second by second. Like legit, I find myself going, okay, hold on, back up for a second, right? He deserves our best.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like, drop the mic. He deserves our best.
How many times in scripture did someone go, God, I don't really think that's not really my thing. Like, I'm not really good at that. Moses, hey, Moses, gonna go talk to Pharaoh. Moses, like, I know there's a burning bush talking to me, and I probably should listen. That's kind of an incredible thing, but I'm just gonna, God, that's not really my thing. God's like, that's not what I said. I said, go do it. It's not.
You can't negotiate with me.
You were prepared for this. Like, go do it. And so, how often do we keep, like, this podcast is probably a step of faith for you. For me, doing podcasts, it's like, I'm like, no, like, I'm showing up for this. Like, God's going to use it. This is our platform. This is our assignment. Right?
Yes.
A third thing, I think the blessings and the peace that come from the obedience. So it's from the things that, from being obedient, from not fearing, the freedom that is available to us as Christians when we're obedient and when we're not fearful and we trust in Him. Like, all of that, I knew all of those things in my life, like, because I grew up in the church, but I had never really let Him be Lord over my life in those ways.
Yep.
And I won't go back.
No,
I won't go back.
Especially now that you've experienced His love.
Yeah.
And the small, still voice. And He's never upset with us. It's kind of like, I've never had children, but imagine if I had children and my child said, Mommy, I want to play with the ball right now. And I said, no, not right now. Later, I'm tired. The next night, Mommy, can we play with the ball tonight? No, I'm really tired. A long day today. We'll do it tomorrow. Third day, Mommy, can we do it now? No, I'm really tired. I've got a big day tomorrow. So you keep putting off the child. The child doesn't go away. He doesn't get upset. He or she doesn't yell, doesn't kick, doesn't call you names. They go away quietly, and they're probably laying down sleeping. That's how I feel, and they're probably crying themselves to sleep. That's how I feel every time the Holy Spirit asks me to do something, and I say, I don't have time right now, God. I'm too busy to do this, X, Y, and Z. The Holy Spirit doesn't get upset with us. He mourns. He's grieved by our decision to not spend time with Him because He really craves that intimacy. So I feel like through all of this, the intimacy that you've nurtured with the Holy Spirit is more now than ever, right? Because you're literally charting out on a different course now. I'm so happy that we had a chance to do this. I feel like I could have 5 episodes with you, so we're going to have you come back. How do people get a hold of you for the business that you now have? Because I'm going to reach out to you for sure, because I can always use, more hormone tweaking for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right? So how does somebody get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram, the Tori Jensen.
Okay.
And that's where you can find nutrition info and all of my links to sign up to work with me. I also have a website, torijensen.org. Okay. Those are the 2 places. And YouTube coming soon. I got some things coming.
If you need somebody to help you with your YouTube, I know somebody really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
like
good.
really good. Like, he's making me, I don't know what he does, but my channel is it's really doing well.
Awesome.
So Tori, thank you so much. What a blessing it's been to get to know you over the few weeks, to hear your story, to just know without a shadow of the doubt what's on the horizon for you. Guys, check her out. Go to her Instagram page. Go to her website. Learn as much as you possibly can about what she stood up for and what she stands for. Our religious rights are number 1. You have the right to express. You have the right to say what you want to say, to feel the way that you, and no one ever should be questioned or made to feel dismissed when it comes to your faith, especially in the workplace. So check her out, you guys. There's more to come with her. I have a feeling this isn't the end of the story where it comes to this whole jab situation and invoking your right and Kaiser and all of this. Stay tuned. You're going to hear a lot more about her. But in the meantime, check her out on Instagram, anywhere else that she might be, especially my women out there. Check her out. You guys are going to love it. As always, we always appreciate you guys tuning in. Honor the commitments you make to yourself. Whatever contract you made yourself 5 minutes ago or even this morning, go back to it if you didn't fulfill it, because it's important. It'll make this life much better. Peace out.